Good afternoon. My name is Michael Connolly, and I'm speaking to you from London. And today we're going to talk about the importance of learning analytics. What do your learning programs tell you about your business, about your employees? Just before I get into the actual content today, I just want to give you a quick background on Qstream. Qstream is a technology company that focuses on making employees better at what they do. We're very unusual in that, unlike a lot of other technology companies that typically come out of research, say in Silicon Valley, Qstream came out of research that was carried out at Harvard Medical School 10 years ago. A professor there by the name of Dr. Price Carefoot conducted about 22 clinical studies into how the human brain can better absorb information and keep that information there and be able to use it in your day-to-day work. So a lot of the subjects for these clinical studies were interns in major hospitals. They were ideal from a study point of view in that they worked on the wards by day and they had to pass their exams. So they had to remember an awful lot of knowledge, and it was easy to track how they were actually able to use that knowledge. So what I'm going to talk about today, everything we talk about at Qstream is based entirely upon proven research, and Qstream is very, very unique from that point of view. Qstream was a pioneer in the so-called microlearning field. That term wasn't around when we first started doing it, but today a lot of companies are in that field. The big difference between them and Qstream is that everything Qstream does is based upon this clinical research. Now, pharmaceutical companies were our first customers from day one. We work with big pharmaceutical companies like Boehringer Ingelheim, Roche, Novartis. And what we did was we looked at the complexities that face the pharma industry today to see how we could actually help individual employees in those particular areas. As you know, speed of change is something that's a constant in your industry. Speedy launch of new drugs, legal requirements and compliance guidelines change at a regular basis. And then you also have new commercial models. One of the things our customers have been doing for the last 3 to 5 years is moving their commercial models towards the so-called patient-centric model, which has required a big change in behavior from most of the people in those companies, especially the sales teams and the MSLs. Capability building for pharma. What's that all about? It's all about improving knowledge, enhancing skills, and making sure that you have lasting behavior change. That's one of the most important things that our customers look to us to provide. And this entails embedding a culture of learning and compliance. Now, it's all very well having these programs, but the challenge is getting deeper insights into employees' knowledge. What are employees doing with that knowledge? Is it actually benefiting them? Is it benefiting them in their roles? Is it benefiting the pharma company, their employers? And also, is it benefiting the customer? Now, if you look at the traditional learning systems today that are out there, thanks to the pandemic, we have a lot of Zoom-led training. Most of our customers have big LMS systems. These are very expensive to run, not very popular with employees. Videos, interactive learning guides, workshops and discussions. Now at Qstream, we work with all of these. We complement all of these systems. But what we do is we provide data and analytics that make these systems more meaningful. These systems typically on their own don't provide data or analytics that can give senior executives insights into the effect these learning programs are actually having on the employee, on their roles, or on the company itself. The problem today is how learning is measured. It's not done in a very scientific manner. It's very subjective. So a lot of progress and completion rates. How much time did people spend on this particular course? What were dropout rates like? The employees do a lot of surveys and questionnaires, and there's polls and feedback forms that employees just fill out as in a rote manner. Sometimes there's pass-fail of knowledge assessments. So it's not very enlightening. It doesn't really tell senior executives very much. So the things that we look at are how well do your training solutions map to people's job performance? In other words, let's say you're an MSL and you've gone through some training for a new product launch. How does that training impact your performance as you work with the sales team launching that new product? How effective is it? Does behavior change as a result of training efforts? That's one of the big challenges our customers have today, is as they move their commercial models away from being transactional to being patient-centric or customer-centric, they need to change the behavior of the sales teams. And most importantly for all of them is, can they measure the return on investment in their training programs? Pharma is no different to global customers who spend millions a year on training and development programs, but at the end of the day, can they measure if they're actually getting a positive return on this investment? And unfortunately, legacy training methods aren't sophisticated enough to do this. So you have to ask yourself about your current systems. Are they generating data that tells you how the training is improving in employee and the business performance? Important as well to identify gaps in training. A lot of the training that we do, we're able to tell very early on, or we're able to tell our customers where certain employees might be struggling, and usually they're not aware of this. Recently, we helped a global pharma company launch a new product on a global basis, and they had an expectation level that reps in certain regions were more knowledgeable than reps in other regions, and we found the very opposite to be true. And they were able to take remedial action right away to change this dynamic. And again, drive behavior. That's really important. Most systems, again, just don't measure behavior change. So how do you go about measuring training effectiveness? Well, you look at the job impact. For example, sales reps. Are their sales increasing? What about customer service ratings? Are their customers giving them positive feedback? And are they producing higher quality work? Can you actually measure that? And then what is the impact on the business? Is your business overall improving because of your training programs? Can you correlate your training programs back to the business aspect? Time to job impact. Once employees have been on a training program, can you track them, their effectiveness in the next 3 to 6 months? And again, what is the return on investment of your training programs? Can you actually do that on a program by program basis? So measuring training and the impact and ROI. Increase sales, for example. Qstream is able to, for example, we integrate with CRM systems. And so we're able to show executives if there's an actual correlation between the training that the sales reps go through and their actual performance out in the field. And this is very helpful for managers, field managers, who can spot very early on sales reps who are struggling, and help them from a training point of view. Are your employees committing fewer errors because of the training that they received? What about customer satisfaction? Can you track that? Can you get feedback on how your customers are doing as a result of your internal training programs? Again, we had an example of this a few years ago at Qstream. One of our customers came to us and told us that they had seen a drop-off in the number of doctor's office visits that their sales reps were doing. And when they surveyed the doctors told them that they found the sales reps weren't really giving them the information that they needed today in today's world of knowledgeable patients. And they found their sales reps were being too transactional. Buy 4 of these drugs and we'll give you the 5th one free. So they said, look, we don't really see any value in having your sales reps come into our offices. So Qstream sat down with the customer and we designed a number of training programs to change this behavior, because this is all about behavior. And we focused on making the reps more knowledgeable about the drugs, the therapeutic areas, the side effects of those drugs, how they compared with their competitors' products. In other words, being able to have a value-add conversation with the physicians when they were in their offices. And within a year, the feedback from the customers was they were really pleased with the change in the sales reps. Doctor's office visits were up, and there was an improvement in their sales as well. So that's one example of how you can impact, how your training programs can impact your customer satisfaction. So where do you start with, from a point of view of being able to track the value of your training programs. It's key that you get all the stakeholders involved. So the key really is don't have your learning programs out there in an isolated silo. Unfortunately, that's how a lot of big pharma customers work. I don't have to tell you that pharma is known for its silo approach. And again, a lot of our customers are like that. Some of them have a global training program that goes out on a global basis. Others, they deal with us on a country by country basis or even on a therapeutic by therapeutic basis. But we find that when there is a joint planning between learning and the executives, you do get much better results. We like to sit down with our customers and plan out a year in advance. What are their key goals for that year? What are their objectives? And then we like to align the training programs with those goals so that we can track if the learning programs are actually having a positive impact on the business goals for the year. So the benefits of microlearning as opposed to those other systems that we looked at earlier, like LMS systems, for example. The Qstream system comes in bite-sized learning. So you get a challenge on your mobile device every other day for maybe 4 to 6 weeks on a particular topic. It could be a drug launch. So the information is shared in bite-sized chunks over a period of time so that it's very, very easy to absorb complex information and to make employees aware of this. Each time you get a piece of knowledge, you're actually tested on that knowledge. And again, the research we did at Harvard shows that when you have a combination of spaced learning and associated testing, you get much better longer-term results. And ultimately for us, the way Qstream sets up our learning, we're able to reveal an incredible amount of detail about people's knowledge and their performance. And that's what the executives want to see. At the end of every program, we present a report to the executives, the sponsors of the learning programs, to show them how people's knowledge has improved and what impact that had on performance. So this is what a Qstream learning program would look like. This you can get either on your desktop or on a mobile device. So we engage with the learners by pushing learning out to them in bite-sized pieces of information over a set period of time. And again, that set period of time is typically 4 to 6 weeks. So say with a sales team, we would typically do about 4 of these programs a year, 1 every quarter. So we give immediate feedback on the actual learning itself. We give the learner is able to see how they're doing compared to their peers. There is a certain level of competition involved here. So this enhances and improves engagement. And we reinforce the key learning concepts. That's what this is all about from a point of view of making the employee better at what they do. By reinforcing the concepts, we make sure that they stay in the brain longer and do impact the behavior. And then coming to the analytics, we track progress through leaderboards and then the subsequent follow up with the analytics. So that's what we do with the learner. That's what we call the learner experience. At the end of each Qstream, we have gathered a tremendous amount of data, and then that data is shared with output like this. For example, increased proficiency. That's the number one thing we look at after each training program. Has the employee's knowledge actually improved? Are they more aware about that knowledge, and are they actually able to use it in their job so that they can be better at what they do and can impact performance? Engagement is a traditional challenge with any learning programs. Most of our customers tell us that if they get 50 or 60% engagement with their LMS systems, they're very happy. At Qstream, we typically get over 90% engagement for a 6-week program. And this is very, very high. We track individual engagement as well as team engagement, and we do it on a country-by-country basis. So you can compare engagement, say, in Australia with engagement in the UK, with engagement maybe in Colorado in the United States. And again, this is very, very insightful. And then we look at content. How good is your content? Is your content actually helping employees at what they do? So we take your content and we use that content to build out the Qstreams. But then we track the impact of that content. So for example, a lot of our customers work with content providers. There's a lot of companies out there in the sales engagement field today, and what they do is they provide content. For example, if a sales rep is going out on a call, and depending upon what part of the cycle they're in, this system will tell them the content they should take with them, which is great. That should help the sales rep. But at the end of the day, the companies have no idea how the sales rep actually used that content and how it actually impacted their performance. Qstream will track that. Again, that's one way we do complement and integrate with other, say, sales engagement systems. We're able to track the impact that they have on the employee's performance. And again, ultimately, high-level proficiency insights. Where are you most at risk from your learning programs? One of the hot areas that we're in today is compliance, diversity, and inclusion. Companies are very, very vulnerable to lawsuits, to bad publicity in this particular area. So it's really important that, say, when you're running compliance training, you know where you're exposed to risk. And again, the Qstream system will be able to tell you that so that you can take remedial action right away. And again, a lot of this is built around behavior. So how are Qstream analytics used by customers? Firstly, we correlate proficiency with performance. So proficiency, again, is all about knowledge. How knowledgeable are your employees? We see pharma as what we call a knowledge-intensive industry with knowledge-intensive employees. So they've got to be up to date on compliance issues, SOPs, as well as their products. So what is the correlation between the training they have for these areas and their actual performance? We present to C-level executives the learnings that we get from these trainings so that they can take meaningful action. We indicate where additional learning might be required. For example, a lot of our customers will say to us, look, we're pretty sure that our employees know 75% of the knowledge required in this area. But what we want to know is, what is the 25% that they don't know so that we can focus on that 25%? Qstream can do a short Qstream that's called a turbo Qstream to evaluate baseline knowledge. And based upon that, we can then do a training program for the 25% that people don't know. And this is very effective. And employees like this because you're not trying to teach them stuff that they know already. And again, engagement. As I said, we get about 90% engagement from our learners. This is really important from a point of view of getting value for your investment in learning. These are the use cases that Qstream works with, typically with pharma. Commercial, we've been working with sales teams now for 10 years on product launches, onboarding new sales reps. But more recently, we moved into the medical affairs field, working with the MSLs, do a lot of work in safety and compliance. On the manufacturing side, we work with ClinOps, medical affairs, and we help the monitors out in the field. So we're right across the board today with our big pharma companies. We are involved in all aspects of their learning from a point of view of driving meaningful analytics. And this is a list of some of the Qstream customers. As you can see, we work not only with the big global pharma companies, but we also work with medium-sized and small pharmas. And if you want more information on Qstream, please reach out to us. We're happy to do a 20-minute demo for you of our learner experience, show you some of the analytics, how they can be generated. And if you have time, please visit our virtual booth. Thank you for your time today.